That which is perfect is beautiful. That which is beautiful is good. That which is good leads to utopia. This is what the Nephilim believe, that if they can embody all that is beautiful and perfect, they can recreate the utopic dream of the perfect kindred city, Constantinople. A recent cult, chided in equal parts as a Toreador fever dream and an excuse for lavish parties, the Nephilim nevertheless draws in a large share of proponents, eager to ogle the great and the good, or to find ways to improve themselves towards their personal ideal. Of course, the pursuit of ideal perfection shouldn't be sullied by base concerns like money and power. Those that give up all that they hold dear to the Nephilim will be rewarded, becoming more perfect and more beautiful with each passing night. Besides, once the dream of Constantinople comes to pass and all vampires are living in harmony, none of that will matter anyway, right? You might be a seeker of beauty, or one of the beautiful yourself, but you're definitely invested in the dream, one way or another. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to another Metaplot Monday on Our World of Darkness. And today we're going to be handling the Loresheet Child of the Archangel, which usually I get to say for Hecata only or for Ventrue only. This one actually says it's unavailable to Nosferatu characters. So any clan is fine to take this unless you are disturbingly hideous. This actually does make a lot of sense, however, because this is about the ideal pursuit of beauty and perfection. And where there are, to my understanding, members of the Nephilim who are Nosferatu, or at least try to be Nephilim. This is of a grander way of looking at things, and only those who are not of Nosferatu leaning can have this stuff. To prepare reading Child of the Angel Michael, I actually went on Wikipedia and I read through Michael's or Machiel's entry on the unofficial White Wolf wiki. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do a deep dive into this guy very, very soon, because he's so interesting and he's so lost in and of himself. It's another Methuselah. We are looking at the Toreador version of Mithras, if you really want to get into it. This is the Toreador ideal. He believes, through years and years of self-delusion and delusions of grandeur, that he is in fact the embodiment of the Archangel Michael. He chose the name after the Archangel, but after a while started to believe his own mythology. So there's a lot to get into on unpacking this character, but being a child of the Angel Michael means a little bit more. So let's go ahead and look into the details of what this lore sheet can give to a character who decides to take it. Investing one trait into this lore sheet gets you the great and the good. Even just being around perfect and beautiful people has its advantages, and you've been able to leverage your connection to fellow cultists into a few small gains yourself. You have 2 free dots to distribute between contacts, fame, herd, and the influence backgrounds, though the kinds of followers you attract verge on fanatical and dangerous to you and your beloved ones. So this is interesting. This is basically just, you're so pretty, you've attracted advantages. You have found ways to have things that help you, be it contacts, fame, herd, influence. These are These are people who have been attracted to you just because you're so damn pretty. Unfortunately, when you end up attracting people due to your beauty, whether it's your physical beauty or just the aura you project, sometimes those people can be unpredictable and dangerous. And that's what this point of the lore sheet actually covers, is the fact that where you might be getting these things, you might end up gaining stalkers in the process. Investing 2 traits into this lore sheet gets you outer beauty. You make trips to the local Nephilim temple, and your accentuation of your inner beauty leads to outer effects. Your skin becomes clear, your hair gains luster, and your limbs become long and firm. You get the looks merit at 4 dots, even after character creation. The negative side is you have to really disguise your appearance if you want to avoid attention. Inevitably, your face will be the one witnesses remember. So, after spending so much time basically going through the sacraments of the temple, you start to become more beautiful on the outside. That actually can be considered an effect of how you feed. You've got this temple that is full of all lavishness and lifestyle. The people who the temple would bring in as herd, as devotees, as willing victims, as blood dolls, these individuals are going to end up being prettier than most. They're going to be kept most likely in a sanguine sense. These people are going to be beautiful inside and out, and they're going to be fed the most amazing lavish meals, and they're going to be kept in complete debauchery effectively, and that is going to affect your body. There is a spiritual aspect to this that I'm not going to ignore when it comes to how you could play off these, but you have to consider the fact that there's a science fact into this also, is that if you are feeding from things like that, you are going to be putting that out. That's actually a huge portion of this game as it is. In 5th edition, we now have the way that blood resonance works and things like that. And this is an accelerated version of that consideration. If all you're feeding from is beauty, that's all you're going to put out. And again, that can lead to downsides, because if something happens and you happen to be in the area, you are going to be the one that people remember and are able to describe to detectives or to possibly other members of vampiric society who are looking for information as well. Investing 3 traits into this lore sheet gets you hedonistic pleasure. Of course, there's no point being beautiful if you can't enjoy it, right? Lots of long nights of excess have taught you a thing or two about having a good time. Even when you're not in the Nephilim temple, you gain 2 dice on any roll to score drugs, get a date or sexual partner, or get yourself invited to a party. In addition, your exploits are legendary. Take either 2 dots in fame or 2 dots in status. Hedonistic pleasure gives you some interesting side effects here, because you are popular. That's basically just that. If you look at it, what it gives you is 2 dots in fame, which is just popularity in the human circles. It also gives you 2 dots in status, which is fame in kindred circles. That's something that's not really covered very often, is that fame and status are effectively the exact same thing, just one's on the undead scale and one's in the living scale. When you look at the things that this can give you, it gives you 2 traits up in dealing with socializing with people and getting things that you want. Sex, drugs, company, those kinds of things, companionship. So hedonistic pleasure is one of those things that these kindred, these children of the angel Michael, are seeking, because it's not just physical beauty, but it's feeling the way that you do on the inside when you are high or when you are experiencing hedonistic pleasures. Investing 4 traits into this lore sheet gets you Michael's calling. You've been in past cults in which the children of Michael were worshipped to bring about the dream. While it's novel and convenient that all of these fringe cults have come together under one roof, as it were, you see it all as the sham it is. That won't stop you from leveraging it for your own gain, however. Once per story, you can use all of the cult's members' appropriate backgrounds, as if they were your own. Michael's calling's messed up. Seriously, this is something that I want to really push towards the storytellers out there who are listening, is this means one of 2 things. One, if you're running a Nephilim game, if the whole game is Nephilim, the people who take Michael's calling have the ability to gain access to all backgrounds in the player and NPC pool. That can be a lot of work for you. PCs out there, player characters, you need to understand that not only is this going to be something that should not be a, hey, I'm doing this, cool, here you go. This is going to be something that takes a couple of game sessions to gain traction. It's not that you can't do this, it's that you have to work up to it. Because you're going to have to know what backgrounds the other players and the NPCs have. What you have access, your extended background pool, as it were. If you're playing a Nephilim in a game with other player characters, it doesn't count if they're not Nephilim as well. Also, as a storyteller, you're going to have to build a cult at this point. You're going to have to make sure that you know exactly what members are part of the Nephilim, what they are capable of, and what backgrounds that they have. This is great. This is a very, very good story-intensive background, but it's not something that needs to be walked into without thinking about it, both for the player and the storyteller. So if your player wants to take this, you need to know exactly what you have as a cult. And they can't just be a bunch of drugged out addicts just laying around in squalor. These are people who are popular, who are beautiful, who are high-functioning addicts, most likely. The food and the lower members can get away with not being as useful. But the higher members, and the fact that there needs to actually be organization and a chain of command when it comes to this cult, is something that you have to take into consideration as both a player and a storyteller. Investing 5 traits into this lore sheet gets you wiping away the stains. The most horrific and flawed parts of the Kindred are, of course, on the inside. Most of the cult claims they want inner beauty, as well as outer perfection, but the sex and drugs tend to get in the way of true enlightenment. Luckily, you haven't lost the true path. Once per story, you can spend a willpower to remove a stain from another vampire. The vampire must have sex with you, do drugs with you, or engage in some other hedonistic activity for at least an hour. Wiping away the stains. Wiping away the stains basically says that if somebody participates in a hedonistic act with you, drugs, sex, whatever, something like that. I would actually even say feeding. If you share a vessel in a sexual fashion, that would also count, in my opinion. Obviously, that's up to storyteller discretion, but in my mind, vampire sex is eating, is feeding from a victim. So, and in this case, when it comes to the Nephilim, most likely willing victims. But in this one, the idea that once per story, you could spend a willpower, do a hedonistic act, and remove the guilt. This action is something that I think should be saved for people who have a ranking within the Nephilim. It doesn't have to be at all, but I do think that if you are some type of member of the clergy of the Nephilim, you definitely should have the ability to do this, because what this is effectively contrition. This is the ability to release the guilt from things that you have done by spending time with someone else. And in my mind, and as somebody who played Sabbat for years and years and years, this is contrition. This is being able to just release that, and the other player doesn't even take it in as if a Salubri would have taken it, because that's kind of what the Salubri used to do, is that if you spent time with a Salubri and they talked to you for a little while, they could take away the stains of the beast and return humanity to you. In this case, it's the ability to just accept that living beautiful is its own reward. So that is the child of the angel Michael. I absolutely love this lore sheet, but I do gotta say that having Nephilim built into your plot lines at all really should be something that you take into consideration and do some planning. The Nephilim are not really something to just sporadically decide to add to your game. These guys are so detailed, and they have such a long-standing past. It's very much the same, as I said before, as adding Mithras to your game. It's not something that you want to take on lightly. So, if you guys have anything to say about the Nephilim or this lore sheet in general, or what it's based off of, please open up and ask questions and give statements and give examples, because it's so neglected in World of Darkness from my point of view. I don't see it very often happening in games, and it always has a way of creating such wonderful drama and tension in a game. I am Voivode Maquette. This is our World of Darkness, and thank you for joining me for another Metaplot Monday, where we have gone over the lore sheet Child of the Angel Michael. Good evening.